Now to do so, you're going to have little levers that you just lift, and then you're just going to slide this piece off. Okay, next we're going to remove the battery pack. To do so, first of all, what we're going to do is we're going to remove these 5 screws. We've got one here, got another one here, and the other one is underneath this tab where it says Lenovo. So just carefully remove the tab and you're going to see the screw right there. Next, we're going to carefully unscrew the screws. That's one. Now once you're done, it's very important to take care and place these screws in a secure area. The thing I hate the most is to lose the screws, or at the end of the build is to find out that I'm missing a screw. So make sure that everything is in one spot. Every screw, part of a job, is in one spot. Now we've got 5 connectors we've got to undo. We've got one here, one here, one here, one there, and the 5th one is here. Alright, so carefully you're going to find that except for this one, and when I pointed this one, it has a tape, in my case at least, it has a tape. So what I'm going to do is carefully remove that tape. Alright, this is the only one that's just a connector, so carefully you're going to remove that connector. Alright, and then what we're going to do is we're going to lift the little tabs for each of these cables. So basically, lift one, lift the other, you lift. There's one, a dark one here, and carefully, there we go. And so I got this one, and this one. So then you can remove those cables. There's a blue tab, helps you pull them out. So again, carefully you pull them out. Now we're going to flip the computer. Flip it over. And here we've got these little, I don't know how you can call it, these little rubber shoes. And carefully we're going to remove those shoes, and underneath we're going to find the screws. Now the beauty of making a video is that you can edit out all the mistakes that you tend to do. In my case, I wouldn't call them mistakes, but because this is the first time that I'm opening up this laptop, I'm finding that because I want to be careful, I have to take care at removing things carefully. Now, you've seen what I've done with my X-Acto tool, just underneath, just tipped it up a little bit, and then removed it. Then I've got this done with all of my shoes. Next step, take my screwdriver and remove the screws. Now the next part is to open the lid. Like everything and anything with computers, you've got to be careful. So underneath this cover, feel that it's clicked in. So again, with extreme care, you undo the tab underneath, and lo and behold, you're going to find that it doesn't break, it lands in your fingers. And again, with tons of patience, you are going to hear click off, and there you go. Yeah, simply this is it. Okay, and you can see that you've got these little hinges here, or tabs, that you be careful not to break, so that when you put it back on, everything is fine. Now, here's our battery. Here's our DVD player, fan, so on, hard drive. So we're going to start by removing the battery. Alright. Now again, famous screws. I've got one here, and one here. Alright, let's go for it. Next, let's remove this battery. Alright, so we're taking the battery out, And you can see underneath you've got cables hooked up to it. So basically this is just a normal connection. So you carefully unplug this. Now we're going to remove what's called the dummy card. This is just to protect for the e-reader, or the little card. We're next going to take the hard disk drive out, again with the famous screws. We've got 1, 2, we got 3, and we got 4 screws. So go ahead, or else, well, you know where I'm going with this, or else, right? Next step, you're going to unplug this hard drive. Alright, just plug. If you've ever worked with computers in the past, you know how it works. Next step, the optical drive. The optical drive we already unscrewed. Remember, that was a screw underneath. So in this case, we're just going to slide it out. Next, we're going to remove this PCI Express mini card for wireless LAN. So again, big fingers, be careful, remove these. Just a snap-on connections, very, very easy to remove. Then you've got a screw, you've got to take off. There we go, and notice how it lifts. Once it's lifted, you just slide out. I tend to leave the screw in. We're unscrewing this card. Same procedure, same idea. In my case, look, here goes the screw. So time to go fishing. And now the next step is to remove what's called the low frame module. And basically this low frame module, again with our famous screws, is going to have quite a few of them. And I'm counting about 6 screws. And so I've got one here, got one here, and if we look up here, we're going to have 1, 2, 3, and a 4th one hiding up there. So guess what I'm saying, or guess what I'm doing? Got a tape here. Let's say goodbye to this tape. Alright. Also, this cable here, we're going to undo it. You're going to see it's running through under these little flaps. So gently, we're going to just nudge them out. One policy I've got also is doing anything. If you feel you've got to add pressure to do something, to me, it cries out a mistake coming. And so, to do anything, if you feel you've got to put pressure, stop. Just, stop. Don't do it. Just take your time, think about what you're doing, and make sure you're not making a big mistake. Okay? So here, look at this here. So this is out. In this case here, I don't have to remove this cable because it's coming out. And this here is for the power connection. Alright, so, whoop. I got a screw that came out. In this case here, I'll tend to leave the screws in this panel because there's no real point in taking it out or separating the panel from the screws. And just gently, just lift it, and you're going to have here this connector used for our hard drives. And so, whoop, gently. Now we've got something here that's preventing us from doing something. And I think I don't have a choice. Oh, I guess we're going to have to do it. So, just remove this cable. Again, gently. It's underneath these same tabs. And there we go. Now I can remove them. There we go. This panel's off. Then we're going to remove the fan assembly and the heat sink assembly. So again, we're in the world of screws. Let's make sure. I've got 4 screws here. So we're going to remove those 4 screws, and do I have a 5th one? We'll find it when we do it. So, there we go. Now there's a 5th screw. I'm finding if I lift or if I move this here, there's another screw hidden. So let's remove that one. Just lift it up. Careful with those small screws, because if you've got elephant fingers like me, you gotta be extra careful. So this is off. Notice I left the 4 screws in here. This here, and this heatsink. So here's the heatsink. Oh, not the heatsink. I mean the fan. You're finding that the fan here has a connection. So gently, we're gonna remove this connection. Now you got to notice something. Right now, I've been trying to remove this little connection here. One thing you've got to be careful of, and I didn't make any mistakes, but I almost did. Is be careful not to pull on the wire. Whatever it takes, let it be. In my case, I use this, not this one, I use this flathead screwdriver and just gently pry it open. The very big no is to pull on the wire, because you're going to pull them out. I mean, this is fragile stuff. So be very careful. Now I can remove this. Put it aside. Okay, next we're removing the memory cards. So basically, we got these small tabs here. Someone that's been working with computers for a while. This is easy stuff. Okay. So doing it correctly, you're going to have these DIMMs coming out easily, and then you just slide them out. Now next step, we're going to gently remove the system board. Before doing that, is we're going to have to unplug this part here. Okay, so bring it out. It's done. Right. Then we're just going to raise the system board out. And be careful, because you've got different components here on the side. So, alright, so the hardest part is in this area here. Where in this area here, you're going to see that it's sort of stuck there. But being careful again, you should have no problem. Now, let's see here. There's your main board. Remove it aside. Alright, and now for the crux of the whole thing, the LCD unit. Let's get to it. Now you've got 4 screws you're going to have to work with. Got 2 here, I've got 2 there. Go to it. Now here's what you're going to do. You're going to slightly open your laptop, forcing the hinges here to open on their own, and then you're going to lightly try to pull this out. Alright, now my setup was like this. I just twist it here like that, make sure that the cables are out of the way, and just raise this up. And then just gently pull it out. Okay, again, making sure not to force anything. This aside. And here we go. Okay. Now in this next step, now what I have to do is I've got to remove this bezel here. Now with anything else, computer-wise, no screws, no nothing, this is just clipped on. So we're going to have to be careful underneath here. It's just to pry this out, to remove this bezel. You can see how it's just hooked in. And so carefully, you try to do this. Now notice with my fingers, you hear it snap? Yeah, well, I don't know about you, but snapping sounds tend to make me nervous. But you gotta trust the engineers down at Lenovo or IBM or the individuals that invented this. And if by any bad luck I break this, well, in my case, I'm gonna have my daughter after me. For any one of you that has a daughter, that's not something you want to have against you. Alright, there we go. That's out. We've got 4 tiny screws we're going to be working with. One here, one here, one here, I hope you see it right here, and then the next one on the opposite side. So, alright, I'm going to move these 2 here. Now you got to be careful not to confuse yourselves with these screws. By mistake I removed this one and this one instead of the inner ones. So make sure you remove the correct screws. Alright, now this is done. Let's see now what happens. Raise this, raise that, and here we go. Tells me very politely, do not touch. Alright, so, tell me not to touch. Now, we've got a connector we've got to undo. So this is it here. Okay, there we go. That is done. And this is our defective panel. Ta-da! Alright, you're gone. Next, let's get the new one. Looks like an unboxing session, right? Well, there we go. This is it. Now, underneath, we've got this famous connector. And this connector is what I took out earlier on. Finally, everything's done, and here's the last part, the final test. Let's see if we see the word Lenovo. There we go. Now, this is done. Everything seems to be working. Do I have a lit keyboard eventually that's going to show up? Should. The key here is to go slowly. It was lit up, so everything is fine. I've got everything here, don't have any lines. The screen that I purchased, perfect. And patience, nothing cracked. I got no remnants of anything. Keyboard was put back in place. Every part is back in. Do I have an extra screw left? I wonder where the hell it came from. Guess what? Yes. Oh well. At least it's working. Don't tell my daughter. Later.